Hello, welcome back to Blender Studio Live. In this episode, I want to share this node setup that I created using SKETCHFAB together with Grease Pencil in Blender. Basically, to create some kind of setup where you can just doodle, and then you can end up with all this kind of like a mix of shapes and strokes. You can actually simulate the same thing using geometry nodes, but I'll show you the setup using SKETCHFAB. It's actually quite simple. So we have Grease Pencil, and we also have all these lines that's being generated together with the shapes. If I switch to different frame and then select the Grease Pencil, you can see there's all these keyframes. So I will create a new keyframe and start doodling. As you can see, whenever I draw something, it's creating shapes, right? So I think this is kind of interesting because what you really need to do in SketchFAB is just to use these object ID selectors and select the Grease Pencil with layer and with the active frames, and then we use polyline curve, and we can evaluate the curve. Okay, the curve sampling can be controlled over here, and I have this polyline viewer as an output. I can enable cyclic just for now, for simplicity. So whenever we draw something, it's gonna be in 3D space by default, or actually using the surface. So let me try. So we can draw on top of the surface, and we can control the stroke, the thickness. We can reduce the sampling. So you might notice that the extrusion sometimes it's a little bit out of control, sometimes a little bit flip. I think that's part of the design. Of course, ideally, whenever I draw something, it should look at the surface underneath and then check the normal and then follow that normal. With geometry nodes, that's probably possible. So yeah, I just really like doing this kind of thing, just to create like abstract looking 3D mesh that's nothing like you ever seen. You might actually notice something similar that you can do using Blender Sculpt. Maybe I should switch. Okay, at the moment you might see there's a mirror as well. I enable that by default, and I apply it to the surface over here. So there are two geometry that's being generated. This alpha mesh, that's basically the polygon shapes and extrusions, and then the lines, which is actually all this curve. You can actually merge this curve into one, so you only have one mesh and one curve. Maybe that's better. Yeah, if you might, like I said, you might notice similar behavior. Before I explain the rest of the nodes, if we open a new Blender scene, right, you can go to Sculpt mode, and of course this is possible already with the trim tool, box trim and lasso trim. Lasso trim is actually really powerful, and I really like this behavior inside Sculpt mode. So you can just draw something, then it's gonna trim it. This is already quite powerful, actually quite powerful feature in Blender, but this feature only lives inside the Sculpt mode. Okay, it's not at the object level, and you cannot really use Grease Pencil while you are using this lasso trim. So it's a little bit different, but already kind of powerful. And then you can also set this, by default it's doing the difference. You can also set it to union and join. I like to use join. So it's there is no Boolean operation. It's just basically drawing these shapes on top of the bottom shapes. and the shape orientations can be set to surface, and then you can extrude it based on the cursor depth. And this is pretty cool. I like this a lot. and yeah, you can just F, and then the extrusion will be longer, and then F, make it smaller, so the extrusion now will be less. But this is also super fun already. It comes with Blender, so this feature is already built in for sculpt mode. So let's get back to our SketchFab setup. So with the shapes at the moment, like I said, it's not perfect, but it's kind of doing its job. Sometimes this extrusion is flipped in the normal, sometimes doing the right thing. Anyhow, let's take a look. So with the polyline, it's very simple. Just check the grease pencil data, do the polyline, evaluate the curve, turn it into real objects curve. The second one seems slightly more complicated, but it's actually still simple. First one, just join the mesh and then intersect the edges, just to make sure if there's like lines that's overlapping, like if you're drawing letter 8, you know, there's like intersecting edges within the plane. It's gonna intersect and create a point, and we do the fill holes and then recalculate the normal. This is actually trying to make the normal correct, flip the normal as well, and then yeah, just simply extrude it randomly. I have this random extrusions being set as well, just to make things, you know, more random. So this is just for abstract result. If someone out there have better knowledge with geometry nodes trying to do the same thing, I think it's a really powerful tools. Oh, by the way, the Blender Sculpt is also missing a tool, which is this guy over here, which is like a pipe that you can just draw. If you use app like Nomad Sculpt, I think Nomad Sculpt have really good spline workflow inside the Sculpt. Blender doesn't have it. I think it's missing in Sculpt tool. So anyway, so as a result, all this, if you join the mesh and then merge by distance, recalculate the normal, so it's trying to do to make the extrusions as solid, and then you just output it as mesh. So that's really what's going on. This is the grease pencil. What is this? Let me try. Let's say I start with blank grease pencil, and then I'll go to side view and then go to draw. Okay, I draw something with grease pencil. I think I need to pick. Okay. Interesting how it's a little bit offset. Okay. Right. Yeah, let's say I'm trying to draw like a dinosaur or some kind of creatures, right? This is one way to do it if you are using this method. I know there's a video tutorial on YouTube somewhere kind of using the similar method and using the sculpt tool. This is kind of similar to that. I think you can use this method if you're drawing things like cars, because it's or like kind of like animals, like what I'm doing here, because just the way it's okay by design. I think this should be set to view, not cursor, so we can draw on top of the surface, but this should be set to 0. Okay, that's correct. And after you do that, if you want to use the cursor, you can use shift right click and then place the cursor there, and then you can draw just another leg, for example. Yeah, I know it's not exactly perfect. I don't know, it's like a duck. And you can also try drawing it from like in 3D space. Remember that this is also a grease pencil, and you can actually draw between, you can connect grease pencil into grease pencil. That's what I'm trying to say. Say it's like a wing. It's like a free form. I really like to have this kind of ability to just draw. Everything is made using strokes, and it's just less complex than any other method of sculpting. Yeah, you can use something like plasticity, but it's totally different. This one is totally free form. That's why I kind of like this, even though I know this is not a perfect tool yet. But the simplicity that to be able to do this using grease pencil and sphere chalk is quite interesting in that regards. So just draw shapes, and it's gonna connect the strokes. Yeah, I think it should be fun for 3D therapy, 3D therapy. Okay, yeah, the stroke is not mirrored. Let's say you're happy with this anyhow. Yeah, the mirror is already set. The stroke, you're happy, you can just delete sphere chalk. Convert that to mesh. Mirror it. Mirror. Okay, we choose the wrong axis, but now it's correct. Select everything, join them as one. Okay, right click, convert to mesh, apply the modifier, join everything, grease pencil turn off. We can remesh. Hopefully it's not too complicated. Hopefully Blender can handle this. I think I should have reduced the details with the strokes. Okay, it might crash this. Let's go back. Application. Oh, okay. It's completed. Oh, I know. The voxel size is too small. No, it's better. Apply. So we get a kind of chicken going on. Turn off the wireframe. We don't need to see that. File, save as. This is the bake version. You know what I'm going to do, as usual. Turn off random color. Go to, we can do the vertex painting, but sculpt mode first. Sculpt mode and T. Okay. Get a tool and select the cloth simulation. Cloth filter, inflate. That's my favorite tools ever. We can inflate this object. Okay. Let's make it. Yeah, it's like a balloon now. It's like nothing you ever seen, right? It's just like, what is this? Space junk or sort of 3D space junk. And then you can do like vertex painting over here, but color painting inside a sculpt is actually faster. Don't know why. Okay, let's mirror it in the y-axis, and you can start painting. Yeah, see, it's a lot faster inside Sculpt. Don't know why, it's just the way it is. It's pretty cool. Okay, it's nothing like you ever seen. Okay, the method seems to be okay. You can also see there's also all this kind of blending with the color in Blender, which is kind of cool. I normally just use the mix, but you can also have lighten, screen, etc. It should be enough for, you know, if you're just doing like 3D therapy. It doesn't need to be perfect. You just need to express yourself in 3D. Yeah, this is one way to do it. There's too many tools out there, but this is the one that I think the most accessible. You can install Blender on any machine. Ideally, Blender also somewhat run online on the web or on device like iPad with a stylus. It's just, yeah, we just use, you know, like desktop computer for now. Okay, it's nothing, it's unlike anything, like I said. Okay, we can continue painting. What's missing with Blender Paint, of course, is not PBR. Unlike Nomad Sculpt, you can export this as USDZ or as GLB and then import it into Nomad Sculpt, and then you can use PBR painting for the vertex. I think it's missing in Blender, but that's okay, you know. You can always use color burn in here. It's just color dodge, highlight, things like that. Is still pretty powerful. Okay. Yeah, and then further continue with sculpting if you want. But let me save this anyway. I don't know what this is. It's a chicken phoenix or, yeah, some kind of monster. So yeah, that's basically the whole process. Let's get back to what we have. See, the whole thing is actually just grease pencil, which is this weird doodle over here. I could go to a different frame and then select the grease pencil, and then I believe I can start again. Can start again this time. Okay, just place an origin view. Yeah, start doodling. This time seems to be, oh yeah, because I moved the objects. Let's move it back. There is this from previous that's probably the onion scanning from previous one. I'll just use frame info, plug this there. Okay, so anyway, so if you can actually draw like letter 8 and it will still do the job for us. If the sampling is not enough, we can increase the sampling. Yeah, so that's basically the whole process. I think it's best to start with a profile. What do we make today? Okay, some kind of, yeah. Oh, yeah, I know. If it's intersecting on the same plane, it's gonna complain on that. But I think this is also can be a method to get an interesting design. But anyway, to enable this 3D surface, and yeah, that should be good. Now it's gonna actually draw on top of the original. This is kind of like a crazy method, but it's fun. Like I said, it's like a 3D therapy where you get some weird thing happenings there. You can always go back to stroke and then delete that stroke, I believe. Because it's a grease pencil stroke, that's why it's a little bit more powerful than curve. If you recreate this setup using geometry nodes, using curve, you might achieve something completely different, but it's gonna be kind of like a tool in itself. Yeah. Yeah, so it's basically just shapes, but made using strokes. And if you actually, you can turn this off, so it's no longer live, right? And then we can enable this polyline, disable this endpoint, so we're gonna end up with something different now. See, we don't need to close, turn off cyclic. And okay, this is what I want. This is just like the behavior of geometry nodes and curve. You can do this quite easily, but now we are doing it using just grease pencil and sphere chalk. This is, like I said, the tool that's missing from Blender Sculpt. Unfortunately, I think the side effects of this is that you need to fill the hole after, but you can do that yourself after. You can, pick a polygon, choose resolution, bevel, depth, radius. I don't think we can close the end parts there. Anyhow, just the fact that you can just draw on top of the surface and then just keep drawing on top is just pretty powerful. Later on, when you finish, you delete everything, right? File, save as. Select this object. Oh, there's a curve, okay. That's actually a curve, and you can bring it into geometry nodes as well. Right click, convert to mesh, select and fill, and this one can be mirrored. Join everything, remesh. Oh yeah, I remember it's a little bit heavy because we need to reduce the scale. The remesh resolution is too big, so hopefully this will work. Let's see the result. Wait a few seconds. So it's become simpler if you think of making 3D model like this. I mean, it's not like a VR tool. I think it's probably easier in VR tool if you draw, but you gotta move around differently than actually just doodling on the plane. So I'm reducing the whole thing in voxel. Okay, I should have done this inside sculpt mode, but anyhow, we successfully do this. There's a weird thing going on there. Sculpt and T. Get this tool. Cloth filter, once again, inflate. Oh yeah, I forgot to turn off. Apply remesh beforehand. Right click, convert to mesh. Sculpt mode. Inflate. Maybe there's something weird happening there. Just remesh. 0.5 remesh. Okay. Maybe resolution is a bit high. Okay. There we go. And next, grab. Can adjust this. If you don't want things to be sticking like that, you can make sure it's using the fall off. Where is the anyway, it's somewhere here. Topology, automasking, phase sets, mesh boundary, grab active vertex. Okay. Symmetry on the Y. Okay, I didn't do symmetry beforehand. I don't know what it is, some kind of prawn lobster with the wings. Yeah, it's pretty fun. And you can just do the painting. Okay, don't stretch too much maybe. But let's get back to this guy. Okay, now we created two. Okay, so that's the whole process with this kind of work in progress tools, or it's tools that you can create yourself very quickly. Grease pencil and sphere chalk, and then you just end up with the strokes and shape extrusion kind of thing. A similar method is like if you use sketch and carve add-on, that's similar, or using sculpt, carve tools. But I think it's a very powerful method and powerful tools to play around with. Hopefully you find this useful. Thanks again for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye.